If George Parker can imagine it, he figures he can build it.
There's no point in waiting. We just got to get at it and make it work. Whatever it takes.
Now, this amateur inventor faces his biggest challenge ever.
This car has to have 100 miles on it by Friday. That's 4 days away.
A high-performance car that'll score 100 miles to the gallon. He has a ragtag team of gearheads.
I mean, it's exciting and wonderful, but at the same time terrifying.
And now, he has competition. A $10 million contest has upped the stakes.
Top in their field people have designed this machine.
Vying for the prize, big league automakers, elite race car drivers, and these garage jockeys, setting out on the ride of their lives. In an industrial park outside Vancouver, British Columbia, George Parker and his team are pulling another all-nighter.
Well, I'm actually trying to come up with an interior design that I like, and I don't know what I'm going to end up with.
This is the car he's aiming to build. The Evero. Lightweight, aerodynamic, battery-powered. Under the hood, 2 hand-built motors will launch this rocket from 0 to 60 in under 5 seconds. The kicker? A lightweight gas generator will top up the batteries, so there's no need to recharge on a long trip.
If you have an electric car right now that's all electric, then you now have to worry about how far can I go, where can I get plugged in, where can I get charged. What I wanted was a car that you could drive like any other car, go wherever you want to go, and never have to worry about anything but putting gas in.
But first, he's got to build it.
Yeah, if we were short one guy, we wouldn't make it. That's how tight things are.
They call themselves the guys in the garage. To everyone else, they are Future Vehicle Technologies, or FVT, an unlikely collection of motorheads. George is the ringleader. The guy with a 5-word mantra.
So I have an idea.
And no time for naysayers.
It's kind of written in stone that we're going to do something and we're going to do it.
That's what George survives on. Oh yeah? I'll show you.
Brad Zimmerman, auto mechanic and trained race car driver. Cool, almost catatonic under pressure. In the months to come, he'll need to be.
There's thousands of wires that run throughout the vehicle all over the place. Pretty sure that major car manufacturers have an entire department, possibly a building. Future Vehicle Technologies has me.
Well, this is our track that allows you to retract the canopy while you're driving. It's like electric sunroof. Ooh, boy.
Probably our biggest disadvantage is our own insanity.
Todd Pratt is the team's second in command. He's built restaurants, but nothing like this.
We're trying to build something that's really revolutionary. We can take some components off the shelf and they'll work just fine. We're just not happy with it. So we're starting to now bring into the fold all kinds of stuff that we're developing from scratch.
What's that hanging in your beard? Breakfast. Looks like aluminum.
The guy with the Texas swagger and a hat to match is the team's machinist, Alf Henwood, a man of few words, and a look that says, you're better off not asking.
Go away.
Building a car from the ground up is a mountain of a job, and the climb just got a lot steeper. Team FVT is taking on the world in a high-stakes, head-to-head showdown.
All right!
This is the Progressive Insurance Automotive X Prize, a futuristic contest to shake up the auto industry. and deliver a car that gets at least 100 miles to the gallon, and that regular drivers would want to buy. The science publication Popular Mechanics rates Team FVT among the top 10 to win it. But George and his team have less than 5 months to get their car built and ready to race. 100 miles per gallon is a tall order, so the car's weight is priority one.
The entire car is made up of 35 pounds of this.
35 pounds of carbon fiber Kevlar, a synthetic fabric to beef up the strength. Layered with foam and fiberglass. The whole works is hand bonded with resin. Once dry, it's a killer combination. Super strong and feather light.
The whole car and the floor pan will weigh about 200 pounds finished. Now that's not including all of the components. Once we add all the components, we'll be looking at 1,800 to 2,000 pounds.
Half the weight of the average family car.
This whole thing is bulletproof and light.
But is it tough enough? They're about to find out. It's called the crush test. A hydraulic press bears down on a replica of the car's front quarter panel.
How many G's are we looking for on the side?
We're looking for 2 G's, which 2 G's being 2 times the total weight of the car, which is, we're estimating going to be about 2,000 pounds. So we're looking to hit about 4,000 pounds with this.
Bart Bolrick is the lone engineer of the group. He ditched his design job to work full-time with this team.
You hear those fibers are being strained pretty hard right now.
But it better hold. It's all on videotape. X-Prize judges want proof the car can take this kind of abuse.
Okay, so we're at 2,000 pounds.
In the real world, this force would be bone-shattering, the equivalent of sliding out of control and slamming into a telephone pole. But it's not even making a dent in the quarter panel replica.
Okay, it looks like we're hitting a 4,000 pounds right there.
Holy!
For testing purposes, that's as far as they need to go. But holding back is not in their DNA.
Okay, so that's 6,000.
Holy!
8,000 pounds. 10,000 pounds. And it's holding steady at 10,000 pounds.
This would be like getting caught between a 5-ton truck and a telephone pole.
That's holding at 12. Just
And
enormous.
actually, it's returning to its original shape, so.
Look at that, it's all bounced back into where it was.
If that was steel, forget it. This thing would just be all pizzaed. No question. This is amazing stuff. Just amazing. Plus, we protect Brad now. We know that Brad won't be in harm's way when he drives into a telephone pole.
I'm gonna try not to.
Okay.
A super strong, hyper light, fuel efficient car is an idea George has been chasing for years. Blame the mother-in-law.
I was bored. I was sitting in a chair at my mother-in-law's, and I was thinking of high mileage, smaller vehicles, and I started scribbling with a pencil on a piece of paper. That'd be more than 30 years ago.
After a life-threatening industrial accident, George quits his job, working full-time to get his ride on the road. Word spreads about this guy and his radical car. Todd Pratt hasn't met him, doesn't want to.
I had no interest in seeing a guy who was building a three-wheel car. I had pictures of, Mr. Bean and cars that tipped over.
George's auto mechanic, Brad, is harsher still.
So I kind of shrugged it off as him being crazy. And then I totally got sucked in more and more and more until it's the part-time gig of 90 hours a week. Yeah.
The car is well along to being built when a wayward welding spark takes hold.
This was part of the shop here. This is where I built the first car. This is what's left of it. A little puddle of plastic. The fire took the house, took the car, took all my tools, took everything in the world that I owned gone.
In just 2 weeks, George had rebuilt from memory. It was an early version, a prototype, and it turned Todd Pratt from skeptic to convert.
I mean, most people would still be crying on the curb. And this guy actually picked up, rented a place and was actually, on his way again.
3.5 years later, there are 2 cars. This is the arm candy they take to wow the crowds. Sexy, but not environmentally smart enough.
This one's just a gas Honda Civic motor. Best mileage on this was 92 miles to the gallon.
This battery-powered version gets 2 to 3 times that. But they're not just chasing fuel efficiency. They want their next car to travel a lot farther and faster.
We want the car to perform like any sports car would. Step on the gas and you go.
So now they're running flat out to build a 3rd car. And it's all hands on deck. To compete in time for the Automotive X Prize, they'll need to ramp up construction. Right now, the car is in pieces, or in George's imagination. The team's motto, build a car and change the world. They'll quickly discover changing the world is the easy part. In an industrial park outside Vancouver, British Columbia, George Parker is wrestling with seatbelts.
I guess these things are universal, but they're for the wrong side, so I have to flip this thing over.
Even though there's barely a seat to speak of.
What I need is an extra hand here.
George and his Future Vehicle Technologies team are running flat out to build a 100 miles per gallon car in time for the International X Prize competition that is just months away.
We're developing everything from scratch, so it's not like we've already got a chassis, we just got to throw a motor in. We actually have to build that chassis, so there's a number of small miracles that have to happen.
Some of their competitors are built, licensed, and on the road already. For them, all that's left is the race. But Team FVT is a long way from the starting line.
I know a lot of the other teams are kind of considering us the underdog, just because we're so not well funded as they are. And I like it that way. I'd much rather just show up and surprise the hell out of them rather than giving them the chance to prepare for it.
The element of surprise cuts both ways. And at the moment, it's their own car that's throwing them a curveball.
The whole car is a bit of a jigsaw puzzle, right? Everything's got to fit in, and there's not a lot of room.
One challenge, squeezing in the 288 lithium-ion battery cells essential for powering the vehicle.
That guy there, that's your lithium cell. Okay. So they look like a Pop-Tart.
There's enough juice here to power the average family home for a day.
They're pretty impressive.
Finding room for them in the Ivero and for everything else takes some creative engineering. The battery packs will be located front and back. The batteries power 2 custom-built drive motors. To reduce drag, the muffler and exhaust system have been moved inboard too. The challenge? Squeeze all that and the necessary add-ons into a space the size of a small bathtub. Finally, above it all, a gas generator that can top up the batteries on long trips. A generator that began its life as a motorcycle motor. Cannibalized and rebuilt.
This is where we should start freaking out. Yes.
This no room for error job falls to Bart Bullrich, the only team member with an engineering background. He just recently joined this crew, but he's already so hardcore, he's parked a trailer out back to be closer to the action.
When I started on this project, half the car was already built, so there was no plans. So I'm scrambling to try and stay ahead of George and keep things on track. This is the contour of the rest of the body there, so you have to stay off of these things.
Gotcha.
But getting George to color inside the lines can be tricky.
It appears I may be slightly dyslexic. My brain processes things a little different. I see things more in pictures.
Often, George Parker's unconventional strategies pay off.
It's easy. Okay.
And right now, he needs them to.
Now the next challenge is that we have to build the intake manifold, but from here to here is all we have for room.
The team needs a high-performance intake manifold to force essential air into the car engine. That kind of muscle usually takes up a lot of space under the hood. George has only half that room in the Evero.
I got some wax on the go here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pour this on here and I'm gonna let it cool.
For his 21st century car, George uses an ancient technique called lost wax casting.
Now you see how this is kind of like pastry.
Warm sheets of wax are shaped around pieces of pipe.
Oh, there you go. I'm kind of making this up as I go, like everything. Now I gotta make a shape to fit and not hit these sides, so I'm gonna run it under hot water.
Now that he's got the fit, the wax mold gets a mighty mix of fiberglass and carbon fiber, slathered in resin. When dry, it's as tough as nails and weighs less than a couple of empty beer cans.
Takes on a whole different look now, doesn't it? Unbelievable. It's actually straight.
He's done it. Built a high-performance manifold at half the usual size.
I'm rather impressed, actually. I like what I see. I hope it works as good as it looks.
George's manifold may be in fine form, but the generator it's attached to is not.
It's just not turning smoothly. It's like starting to turn and then kind of going back the other direction. The computer that runs the motor is just a little confused.
And even a computer code guru can't decode this problem.
I don't know why I can't get it to rotate faster.
That's bad enough. Worse is that the Automotive X Prize competition has a preliminary deadline for competitors to have their key components up and running.
These things are heating up here. This thing is really hot.
The team has just 48 hours to find a fix.
Kurt, hold on, Kurt. Back the throttle off.
Smoke and car parts. Never a healthy combination.
What's burning? I don't know.
This kind of stress.
Building a car for the future is full of unknowns. And if they could see the future, they might put the brakes on it all right now. For the upstart Team FVT, the troubles are multiplying. The futuristic hand-built car this British Columbia team hopes to enter in the $10 million X Prize race is in pieces. And now, the backup generator, a key car design feature, is in trouble.
And you're telling me that we got one side that's nice and cool, we got one side that's smoking hot.
Okay, try it again.
A preliminary competition deadline to have everything assembled and in working order is now just 1 day away.
Come on, throw me a bone here.
The car's body is undergoing its own crisis. Weeks' worth of synthetic fiber and resin are adding up. The car is packing on the pounds.
This was 50 pounds when we started.
For now, it's how much?
70. Yeah, and I mean, that's not without the glass, and we're not done. So it just keeps going.
And that could kill any hope of decent mileage.
I think this is the toughest area that we have of all the stuff that we're doing right now.
There's no real solution to this. that I can see readily available.
I am reducing the weight in the car. We figure by doing this, we could save about 9 pounds.
Alf is so concerned about weight. Here's our rear brake pad. See how thick it is? Look what Alf did to it. He put it in a lathe and he chewed it off so it's like half as thick.
65 grams, and the one I've done is 56 grams. 9 grams.
That is the biggest challenge right now, keeping the weight down. I have the same problem.
For the FVT crew, the days are long, the food is fast, and like his car, George is now on a fast track to shave some bulk.
Well, you know, working these long hours and eating the wrong time of day, and I don't have enough excuses to explain why I gained weight, but it's a wise move to make it a priority, which I've been wanting to do and just hadn't got around to, so you can only fool yourself so long. How much should go down?
You went at 0.4.
Up 0.4.
Yep.
That's disappointing.
The team turns its attention to the chassis. The goal, get it assembled and rolling.
Can you replicate a bumpy road at 80 miles an hour?
That may not look so good on it.
I just want to go back to that.
This is an exciting moment. Take it around the block there, Todd.
Oh, rolls. Yeah. Hang on tight, Tom.
Tom Turan is the team's backup driver. When he's not riding motorcycles like heat seekers.
Looks amazing.
A rolling chassis is a major milestone. And there's more good news. The mystery of the malfunctioning generator seems to have come down to a simple mix-up in the camshafts that control the timing.
Somewhere along the line, they got mixed up, and the cam that was supposed to be in this side ended up in this side, and vice versa. So the motor wouldn't idle.
Another video victory to submit to X Prize judges in order to qualify for competition. The team's on a roll. To max out how far their car can travel without plugging in, they've turned their braking system into a fuel source.
You step on the accelerator, you use gasoline up. You step on the brake, you don't get gasoline back. Our car gets energy back.
It's called regenerative braking, or regen. Normally, when a driver steps on the brakes, the energy it takes to stop the wheels is essentially wasted. Regenerative braking converts that energy into electricity and returns it to recharge the batteries. Regen is already a feature of some electric and hybrid cars.
At its peak, we're 180 volts and 100 amps worth of electricity back into our batteries. Well, I should say that would probably power several homes. Like, there's a lot of electricity.
Every time you touch that brake pedal, you're regenerating power into your battery.
Just imagine a guy following you, sticking gas in your tank every time you put the brakes on.
So it's a remarkable thing for a car, and we're looking at 20 to 30% of the energy you put out getting back.
Everybody said we couldn't do it.
Yeah, yeah. So pretty cool.
And now we've got 2 hours to finish.
To qualify for competition, teams must prove their car is all together and working. Team FVT's working parts are still separate. The team is gambling that having built 2 cars already, the competition judges will forgive them.
It just doesn't make sense for us to put the whole car together right now. It's just not practical. It slows us down remarkably if we're all working on the same car in the same place. We'd have to work 24 hours a day because you're in each other's way.
They've collected video proof that their parts are running, but that won't mean much if they don't get it to the judges by a 2 o'clock deadline.
Yeah, so I'm gonna send the file now. Right under the wire, we got exactly 11 minutes left. No pressure. Oh my God, I forgot my password.
There you go. Keep this right up here. We can
keep you up to date.
What's going on? I don't need that thing ticking right now. It'd be really nice if this went in before 2 o'clock. 1:57.
Can't you speed that up? You can see that it's, you know, it's really, really
Yeah, no, it
ticking.
doesn't get any closer than that. Stupid.
This is when a little file comes up that says error.
Oh, look at that.
Right on.
Okay. All right.
That's as good as it gets.
Well, that's way too close, but that's good. Okay.
That's unreal.
So we can take a little breath.
The breath, it turns out, is a short one.
Nothing happens.
The generator, that essential backup for their electric batteries, has suddenly stopped working. The wiring is scorched.
Looks a little fried there, Brad.
Too soon to know what's caused this damage, but it needs repair. A serious setback. But it's not just car parts that break down when they're pushed hard. And the team is about to get a not-so-gentle reminder.
Okay, watch your fingers, watch your fingers.
Whoever said getting there is half the fun never tried to build a groundbreaking car on a neck-breaking deadline.
Feels like I'm racing.
You are. You're racing to get this thing done on time.
In a shop outside Vancouver, British Columbia, a tiny team of garage warriors has just 8 weeks to get their car built and ready to race in the Progressive Insurance Automotive X Prize.
We have to somehow do this one way or the other. I put in 87 hours last week. In fact, on Friday, I didn't go home till Saturday afternoon. So I was a little bit out of it.
On the upside, sleep isn't all George is losing.
Okay, I'm 260 clothed, and that makes me about 256 no clothes. Down 30 pounds.
When a guy's hobby becomes his obsession,
Okay, rotate it. Okay, go ahead.
it's a pretty good bet his family won't be seeing much of him.
I have a guilt-free weekend. My wife went to a casino in the States, so I get to be here, guilt-free.
Their teammates are like a second family. Their real family gets visiting rights.
Sometimes I don't see her for weeks, actually. I go home and leave before she gets up.
Really, everything else has gone to the sideline.
You gonna help me?
There was a bigger cube.
We're not paying bills. We're not looking after significant people in our lives. Not, you know, attending to personal hygiene or anything like that.
The team's damaged generator is facing long hours of work, too. Turns out that smoke they saw a few weeks back
Hold on, Kurt. Back the throttle on.
was a short in the wiring. Now the whole works needs replacing.
As you can see, it's really tight, so it's going to make it very difficult to get the wires in. Yeah, it's labor intensive.
And now there's another casualty.
All right, well, let's get this one on the bench.
The shop is starting to look like an emergency ward. On the heels of their damaged generator, one of the 2 drive motors is in trouble.
Yesterday we were doing some testing, and we were running the motors hard. And at the end of the testing, there was a waft of smoke coming off one of the motors. Nothing.
These brushless direct current motors were custom designed for the Evero. There's one motor for each of the front wheels. Plastic discs called encoders are like the eyes of the motor, telling it where it is as it rotates. A controller acts like a central nervous system, directing electricity to the motors. The twin drive motors are compact and designed for maximum punch, kicking out between 700 and 900 foot-pounds of torque each, putting the Evero in the same league as some race cars.
Holy cow.
But electrical shorts have placed this one on the injured list.
Here's another one right there.
It needs a complete wiring overhaul. And the team is about to hit strike 3. This time, it's not mechanical, it's personal.
Boom. Couldn't see, my eyes were going, the room was spinning around.
A vicious inner ear virus has George confined to the couch. Doctor's orders.
You go into this vertigo deal where you can't see, you can't move, you can't, anything you do makes you sick.
If it goes on for a week or two, it's going to be pretty ugly because there are things that we absolutely need him for.
The days on the calendar are still going tick, 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 tick. Stuff's not getting done. I gotta see it finished before we go or we're gonna be in big trouble. But here I am.
To some guys, tools and shop supplies are more personal than underwear. George Parker is one of those guys.
We're cleaning it up, George.
While George is off sick, his teammates are on a seek and destroy mission.
George is used to working on his own. He's used to being a one-man show and just doing his thing. So as a result, he's never had clean up as you go. There you go, George, it's all there, buddy. Organized, catalog. Problem is it doesn't work very well when you've got 6, 7, or 8 other guys in the shop because no one can find anything. Hopefully he's weak. When he comes down here, he won't be able to swing at me.
But George has a little surprise of his own. He's back early.
Hey, George, you weren't supposed to be here.
Did you see the guilty look on their face when I walked in? They actually got caught.
Some of this stuff I know has been here for months.
Yeah, there's a reason why it's been there, but there's
Nothing's been thrown up.
Okay. I don't mind cleaning up the shop, but leave my stuff alone.
George struggles back to fighting form. And with the generator and drive motor repaired too, it's the final push to get the car ready for competition.
It's becoming a little nerve-wracking that we don't have this car up driving. We really should have the car on the road now and be taken out for an hour or two a day.
We're going to be putting the front clip onto the car, and that's a state of no going back. Now we're marrying the mechanicals to the bodywork. So from here on in, it'll be a fight for who gets the car. The body guys or the mechanical guys.
I'm just doing some wiring here because Brad was supposed to have this all done ahead of time, but he didn't. So now we have to do it after the fact.
Right around 3 minutes to 10, Todd turns into an ass.
I'll tell you, it's a lot earlier than that.
Let's see now, I've been up for 10.
Delirious because I'm on hour 80 since Monday.
Going on 30? I don't know, I'm losing count.
They're starting to burn out. More brutal, to weed out the wannabes, X Prize judges insist teams put some mileage on their cars before the competition.
This car has to have 100 miles on it by Friday. That's 4 days away.
Okay.
Even simple tasks seem like monster challenges.
Hey!
It's going backwards.
Can we do our 100 miles backwards? I'm so calling it a night. And we're gonna start tomorrow. Again, doing the same stuff.
Nothing like a few hours of shut-eye to improve the mood. And their fortunes.
Hey, looks like we're going the right direction today. Coming at you. Okay, this is day 1, first day for the car on its wheels, under its own power.
So far, nothing about this car has been easy. And before this day is done, it will put their commitment to the ultimate test.
We screwed up. We put Tom at risk.
It's a first for the guys in the garage. After months of gut-busting work to get a fuel-friendly car built to compete in the International X Prize, their handcrafted, race-ready Evero rolls out.
It's a good feeling to, you know, in the last few days, we've actually been putting together a car. And prior to that, we were primarily working on just components.
You're the first passenger ever. We made it around the building. First time.
And George didn't get any air, which was a lot of
George didn't get any
Well,
air.
my jump was cluttered with people.
There was certainly times where I was wondering whether we would be able to pull it off. Although deep down knew we would, I just didn't know what it was going to take to get there.
Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, it is.
That's totally awesome.
Gonna feel good to get some sleep.
There's just one more item on the to-do list. Reluctant to push the car until they know their recently repaired motor can handle it, they run it on a dynamometer, or dyno. Overnight, this road to nowhere will help them rack up the 100 miles required by the X Prize to qualify for competition. To save time, the boys jury-rig the battery boxes just inside the car and attach a charger. Fingers crossed, the motors both behave. But this time, when trouble comes, it won't be the motors.
Like, I want to know what happened, because there was no reason. And the car was just sitting there. We were sitting there talking. The car wasn't even driving. I think it was the battery charger. Yeah. That's what it looked like, but it was so quick, like less than a second, and there was like a wall of flame between us and Tom. We had to like drag Tom through the wall of fire. He's all right.
Okay, I'm not going to the hospital.
I'm
not going to a funeral.
Then, a surprise. The engine compartment is almost entirely untouched. A credit to the rock-solid firewall, fast-acting firefighters, and luck.
This whole car could just be a puddle. And the difference between what you see now and that puddle is only a few minutes of more fire. This car, there's a good chance that it might even be salvageable. We don't know until we rip it apart.
Well, I'm almost kind of clear on what we got to do. Right now it's a puddle of ashes. So underneath that, there's probably something we can work with. This was such a nice job, too.
Remember that sleep I was looking forward to? I ain't getting any for a while.
So it was quicker the second time, right? Let's go with that here.
Okay. You know, it's one of those things, you think you're over the worst of it, and then something else comes along and slaps you upside the face. And the other day I was thinking, okay, well, we're not out of the woods yet. Well, I didn't know there was a forest fire coming.
This is not as bad as it looks. When the gas engine was first invented, the first 10 years were not pretty. Cars were blowing up and unreliable, and you know, it's like the Wild West. We're kind of like that now. We should be a little bit smarter. And I will guarantee you we're a lot smarter after today. A lot smarter.
Tom's still standing. He was in the car when the batteries beside him caught fire, blocking his exit.
All of a sudden there was a flash right beside me and started to stand up, and by the time I stood up, it was just kind of like a wall of flame, just kind of all around me. I think another 5 seconds and it would have been too hot to get near it. You know?
We screwed up yesterday. We should not have had batteries beside our driver, right? We put Tom at risk.
today so far, I've had 2 people I was talking to interested in investing phoning me back, going, yeah, we're real interested. Can we come see the car? I said, we've had a small setback. We had a little fire, but our company is accustomed to dealing with fires.
No one could blame them for having the fire department on speed dial. George lost his prototype and everything he owned in a catastrophic blaze 4 years ago, and rebuilt it in just weeks. He's getting good at this.
I don't think there's an option when it comes to whether we continue or not. I think it's kind of written in stone that we're going to do something and we're going to do it.
Step 1, nailing down the cause of the fire.
We need to make sure that this won't happen again.
The detective work begins with the carnage that was their battery pack. But this charred heap isn't giving up clues easily.
I was hoping for a little glimmer, something that we could look at and go, aha! But, wow, not a lot of ahas here.
It's a second battery pack that provides a possible lead.
This battery had a million reasons why it should have gone, and it didn't.
That's right. All the energy that's running through one, the identical energy ran through that.
I gotta tell you, it leads towards the charger. The charger was right beside it.
If the battery charger is the culprit, it could explain the chain of events. It catches fire, running up into the battery box on the car floor next to Tom. The batteries inside ignite almost immediately.
It's like putting an old flame on gasoline and expecting it not to burn, right? This is just pure energy.
The X Prize competition date is breathing down their necks. They have just days to rebuild what took months the first time round.
First time.
The Evero has literally risen from the ashes. But it's 3 weeks to the race, and the team still needs to log the 100 miles they failed to get when the car caught fire. Brad nurses it along.
Yeah, 30K is good.
The car fighting him for every mile.
That one motor temp is just climbs way faster than the other one.
They'll drive all night.
I would drive 100 miles.
Yes!
That plus 32 in the dyno equals success.
How many miles altogether?
Just over 100.
It's shaping up to be a day of firsts.
Hey, oh, that's pretty good.
Until now, they've never run the car with its backup generator.
This is only the second time that we've actually tried to fit it into the car, and it's just a lot of stuff on the generator, so it's a really tight fit.
If it fits. If not, it's too late now.
It's gonna be real close.
That front end fit is Bart's baby.
Okay, I think we're good.
Okay, go ahead, let it drop.
How did you do this?
Do what?
Yeah, look at that.
That's just like
We're talking 1/8 of an inch of clearance.
insane.
Well, this is a little tight, really, to be honest.
Looks amazing.
It may look impressive, but will everything work together?
Yeah. Good. That's it.
We are going to the X Prize. Clear the.
We're going to the X Prize. Woo! Holy cow.
Only 48 hours before the X Prize competition begins, and there's no time even for a paint job. Team FVT is racing just to get out the door.
Okay, 9 minutes to leave, guys. Is that as fast as you can go?
But drama has a way of finding them.
Good coming, you're good. You're good.
And before long, it will again. There's a race car in the trailer and 3,800 kilometers in front of them. George Parker and his Canadian team are on the long haul to Michigan to compete in a one-of-a-kind automotive contest. They're driving straight through. That's a lot of restrooms. Not a lot of rest.
How long have we been driving for? Oh, 8-10 hours.
Where are we? We're in Missoula. Missoula.
Just outside Missoula.
You know, it really hasn't hit home when I think about it. What we're actually doing. I mean, how many people in the world get to actually start a car company and go from drawing on a napkin to building something that has such amazing results in such a short period of time? And if all goes well, this is going to be the most exciting week, I think, of our lives.
Brooklyn, Michigan, an hour west of Detroit. Here, the car is king. And the Michigan International Speedway is where it holds court. Now, the track is being hijacked by a parade of automotive upstarts for round one of a three-part contest. 24 teams representing 6 different countries. Every one of them certain the car of the future is in their trailer.
Okay.
Slow, slow, slow.
Okay, crank it.
This is their chance to prove it. The Progressive Insurance X Prize is a one-of-a-kind automotive showdown. The challenge, build a vehicle that gets the equivalent of 100 miles per gallon. Then prove it can run up to 200 miles without refueling or recharging. If more than one car gets past those hurdles, the fastest car wins. The bragging contest is already underway.
We've got 1,000 foot-pounds of torque, 805 horsepower controller. It's only half a second slower than a Bugatti Veyron, which costs $1.2 million.
These cars outhandle just about anything you can buy short of a Ferrari or something. They weigh so little.
This thing is doing nearly 200 miles per hour. So, any questions?
The team garage is loaded with David and Goliath matchups. International auto giant Tata Motors just a wrench throw away from a team fueled by volunteers and praying for the paint to dry.
We got maybe 11, maybe 12 volunteers. Some of them I've never met before today. Where are we at? And they're completely dedicated.
California's Aptera has a fancy trailer and a multi-million-dollar budget. These university students got here with $50,000 and leftover aircraft parts.
This chassis and body is built out of recycled 7E7 carbon that we got donated from local aerospace companies in Washington. We couldn't have done it otherwise. Without the donations from our sponsors, we would not be here.
FVT's got the hood up, triggering a bad case of engine envy.
I'm just amazed at the amount of stuff you guys are willing to take on.
Yeah, we bit off of it.
I had one of the guys from one of the teams actually come by, and he looked and he went, whoa. He said, you know, there's workmanship and there's craftsmanship. That's craftsmanship. Oh, that's a nice quote. It's nice.
But nice won't win the X Prize. Performance will. And it's never a bad thing to load up on your luck.
Hey, walk so fast in those cowboy boots, cowboy.
Race car drivers are a superstitious breed, and Brad has his own tradition. Walk every track before you race it.
We got to drive tomorrow out here on the pylons, so we can use all the help we can get. A little bit of luck's not going to hurt.
Getting 100 miles to the gallon is a bold goal. One that doesn't mean much if your car can't stop or swerve in an emergency.
All it takes is one bad incident, and consumers out there are left with a bad taste. That these cars aren't really ready for real-world driving, and that's exactly what we're out to disprove.
This competition stage is the shakedown, the X Prize equivalent of a football training camp, a chance for officials to size you up before the contest really counts. But if you show no promise here, you will be cut. Cars compete by category, 4-seaters in the mainstream class, and 2 alternative groups, one with seats side by side, and tandem with seats front and back, like FVT's Evero. The first road challenge, the avoidance maneuver, or moose test. An adrenaline rush, familiar to anyone who's ever had to swerve hard at high speed. Drivers must hit this speed mat at 45 miles an hour. Then, no gas, no brakes, nail the course without nailing any of the cones.
Yeah, it's a pretty narrow path when you come at it that fast and you just nip the cone or something.
The course is meant to test the car's stability. But it never hurts to have a skilled driver.
How you doing?
Great, how are you today?
Great.
And California's ZAP team has a little star power on its side.
I'm Al.
Hi, Al.
How are you?
Al is former NASCAR champ Al Unser Jr. No stranger to avoiding collisions.
Okay, let him go.
Unser makes this test look like a Sunday drive. But not every driver has that kind of edge.
We went to 3 days of driving school and learned techniques on race cars.
A featherweight at 450 pounds, Spira sports a motorcycle engine and fiberglass body wrapped in foam.
See, if it hits a pedestrian, it's not going to hurt him too much. It doesn't weigh that much. Some guys weigh more than this.
Its team labels it soft, safe, and sexy. Around the track, they're calling it a rolling beer cooler. "45 miles an hour, no problem."
You know, we came here not expecting to see much out of it, but oh man, better not jump to conclusions too fast.
But it's another rival that will raise his eyebrows and his hackles.
That just is not right. Shouldn't be allowed.
It's a car that can hit 60 miles an hour before the sentence is done, and stop even faster. But when it looks like it's had a run-in with a garbage compactor, there's a lot of explaining to do.
Some of them are claustrophobic, you know, look, that little thing right there, a wind gust will blow you over.
They think it's going to tip over, they think it's light, they think it'll blow over in the wind. I mean, all these are preconceived ideas that people have that don't have a knowledge of the physics of this car. It has 2,000 pounds under the floor. From this line down, there's 2,000 pounds, so it actually has the same static rollover threshold as a 911 Porsche.
But can the tippy-looking Tango survive the moose test? An X Prize swerve fest that tests a car's ability to avoid sudden objects.
Make it look like you tried. Good job.
Oh yeah, it was not too hard.
On this test, Tango's got a size advantage. It's less than a meter wide. The Canadian contender Evero spans nearly twice that.
I think the challenge for us is that there's an 8-foot span, and our car is almost 73 inches wide, so there isn't a whole lot of room for error when we're going through the pylons.
Still, Brad's got a good feeling.
He's a cake. You ready? Oh! Son of a...
Take 2. He cleans the course. but the judges send him back. 12 passes in all.
Brutal.
He thinks he needs more speed.
Obviously way too slow.
But what Brad doesn't know is that the problem isn't him. It's the test. The judges are having trouble getting accurate speed readings.
Instrumentation is always a wonderful thing to deal with. It always works really well when you're just developing it. When you actually need to use it, poof, out it goes.
Finally, the officials get a result.
Yes.
And Brad gets some relief.
What, did you pass?
Passed.
Oh, okay. How fast did I go?
47.
Attaboy.
I thought it looked good. I was happy. He was looking.
It's real stable and drivable. It can I mean, we went through it 47.5 miles an hour, so.
The next competitor is about to put the brakes on the team's good mood. The Swiss X-Tracer team has 2 battery-powered vehicles in the X Prize competition. One with an all-Swiss drive system, the other all-American.
I've been in racing far too long to come to a place that is 7,000 miles away from home with one vehicle. Because one, as we say in racing, is none.
X-Tracers also got a strategy for attacking this course, approaching at an angle.
He's coming across that speed scale already lined up for the other lane.
Yeah, he's not coming straight down like everybody else does.
I didn't go straight, but approached it with an angle.
So you straight lined the first part of the corner?
Yeah, and there was a piece of cake.
He tried to say that if he comes straight in, he's going to slip on that map. And I said, that's not real road conditions. If you're driving down a, you can't change 3 lanes to set up for an evasive lane change. That's not acceptable. That just is not right. Shouldn't be allowed.
But George loses this one. Competition officials rule the X-Tracer's maneuver was acceptable. Still, so far Michigan has been good to the boys from British Columbia. The car is handling just as they'd hoped, and they aced an X Prize safety inspection.
Inspection went really well, like really well. I think we went through the fastest car through that whole thing.
In the next mandatory X Prize test, cars must prove they can accelerate from 0 to 60 miles an hour in 18 seconds or less.
9.13.
But the West Philly car, a modified Ford Focus, has a motor that's jamming out on the straightaway.
It didn't feel as good. I don't know what happened. I lost power. Maybe the electric motor kicked out? Let's do it again. Yeah.
Pushing all out without knowing what's wrong could kill their engine. But the window for their test is closing. The team decides to risk it.
Yeah, well, it's a huge deal. Yeah, we're at the verge of being eliminated, so you know. yeah. That was, that.
Anytime you want.
A team from North Carolina is looking for a miracle.
Joe, we're all set.
Yeah, I know he's having some issues here at the moment.
Their car, the Wave 2, is beached at the far end of the track.
As soon as they gave him the green flag, he matted his throttle. In a combustion engine, it's like it coughed. But obviously an electric engine, it just, started to stop. And then we had nothing, so we fried a controller. So it's like, oh, okay, what do we do now?
The controller directs electricity to the motor. Without it, the team is finished. A rival, California's Team Zap, comes to the rescue.
That was all zippy?
We'll see here in a second. It moves.
It moves.
That's
All right,
improvement,
good.
man.
Thank you. All right, good.
Thank
sure.
you so much.
Sure. All right.
We gave him our backup controller because they had a problem with theirs, so.
I hope that everyone does that. Yeah, that should be what part of this competition is about.
Now, both teams are trackside, rooting for the boys from North Carolina.
All set for the next car.
He needs to hit 60 miles an hour.
It was at 55. 55. 5.
Half a dozen attempts.
57. 57 that time.
And then,
All right!
We're still in it and we're still singing. We might be loose, but we didn't hit the wall yet.
but for others in the team garage, it will prove impossible to steer clear of trouble. For a handful of teams, the dream of building the world's fastest, most efficient car could end right here.
We have a technical inspection coming up, a safety inspection, and all hands are on deck just trying to make it.
Get fast! Don't be standing around! This is go time!
You know, what they've known for a while is that the inspection garage closes at 5 p.m. on Wednesday, and so that's their target.
Failing to get through the safety inspection means instant disqualification from the X Prize competition. Wisconsin's Foresight team receives critical parts too late to install them. Now, instead of running the car, they're building it.
We have a terrific amount of work. We're on the edge of being failed, and this is the moment of truth to find out if we're still in it or not.
Out on the track, the road testing continues, with cars trying to nail their acceleration. They must hit 60 miles an hour in 18 seconds or less.
So we ready to roll?
We are so ready to roll.
Well, let's roll.
Brad Zimmerman and the Canadian team FVT are riding high from their last test success.
Okay, I'm going to be sending it in a second.
But this is unknown territory. The Ivero's about to be pushed like never before. At 59 miles an hour, 1 mile an hour short of the required speed, the right drive motor fails, and the remaining motor begins pulling the car toward the retaining wall.
It looked like it pulled to one side, right?
It totally did. I lost the motor.
It appears the right motor overheated and shut down to protect itself. It's an automatic fail. But at this shakedown competition stage, teams can rerun tests, so long as the schedule and the weather are on their side.
This is probably it.
Team FVT will use the rain delay to troubleshoot.
Let's go!
But for two teams, the time for fixing has run out.
There's something in our way, hit it! Go!
They are the only teams who have yet to pass a preliminary safety inspection. That or face elimination. And the deadline is now. The teams both make it with no time to spare.
That's drama.
Yeah.
Wow. I know how they feel. I know how they feel.
After adjusting that troublesome motor, Team FVT is ready to roll. The team is putting off a redo of the test it failed.
Okay, shake and bake, baby.
Instead, they're moving on to the durability test.
2, 1, go.
It's 1.88 miles of Michigan campground road, doubling as a highway interstate. Cars must complete 20 laps of it in under an hour. Brad needs to lap the course in under 3 minutes. He radios for results.
2 minutes 35.
Okay, so I can slow it down. Okay. It's bumpy. The batteries aren't warm at all. Thank you. It might as well be a gravel road.
Until now, this 3-week-old has been babied and restricted to flat, well-paved roads. This is the real world of ruts and rocks. And competitors who want to beat you, like Spira. The little foam car in Brad's front view is becoming a pain in the rear, slowing in corners, crossing the track in unexpected places.
Okay, well this is painful. I'm going to pass it because I could be using way less current if I wasn't behind it.
If that isn't annoying enough, X-Tracer's lapping the competition, including race veteran Al Unser Jr. Finally, Brad scrapes past Spira. Then,
Hello?
9 laps into the 20-lap test,
One motor is getting pretty warm.
a heat warning on his left motor, not the motor they just repaired. 10 laps in, halfway through the test,
Cars coming in.
Brad pulls off the track. The engine looks more like a barbecue.
What are we smoking, Todd?
So one motor's running hot, and on this track with a sustained speed, that heat builds and builds and builds.
Frustrating, because...
So now we've unplugged one of the motors, the hot one, and we're gonna run the rest of the course on one motor. But the only thing is now you're dragging one motor, so that means that the other one is working a little bit harder than it probably should, but it should be okay.
But it's not okay. Now, the one remaining motor heats up whenever Brad steps on the brakes, which on this course is a lot.
I'm gonna come in.
2 laps later, Brad quits the course again.
We've got a motor design issue.
So we're done for this week?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to run it anymore. We got one that's not working right, one that can't do the job of 2.
One more kick in the head while we're down. I'm getting used to that.
Team FVT leaves shakedown phase having failed 2 of the 4 tests. But when an all-star rookie has an off game, they usually get cut some slack. X-Prize officials will give FVT and 6 other teams one more chance to make good when they return in a month for round 2 of the 3-part competition.
These were real contender teams. So there's a little bit of hubris, I think, that comes into this, and sometimes you feel too confident. You know, I know you think you're good, but...
For 2 of the 24 teams, the competition ends now. They never make it past the mandatory technical inspection.
We drilled through a wire. When that happened, the electrical broke. And so we couldn't start the car when we were over there, and so that knocked us out.
22 teams will return, including the 2 that seem to dog FVT at every turn.
It surprised us. I'm sure it surprised everybody else.
We lapped Al Unser Jr., which is something we can tell our grandchildren someday. Sorry, Al.
Team FVT now faces a long drive home and a short 5 weeks to find and fix whatever's wrong with the motor.
I think we were expecting to run into problems, just not as severe.
The next time the boys from British Columbia roll onto this track, they better be good to go, or they'll be going home for good. What looks like a full-on joyride
That way?
is serious business.
That would be a fail.
With less than 3 weeks before round 2 of an international car competition,
The car stops better backwards. What can I do?
Team FVT is back home in British Columbia, troubleshooting.
Is it still driving on both motors?
I don't know.
What's this happening?
What?
Is that temp?
Yeah, how'd they get that hot?
I don't know.
One of the car's two motors is overheating, forced to work harder because its twin is shutting down intermittently when a driver banks hard. Turns out that stop-and-go motor is loose, out by just 17 thousandths of an inch.
So it's just a matter of taking one end of the motor off, taking 17 thou off of it, putting it back together, end play's gone. Problem hasn't happened since.
After 5 weeks on the home front, it's go time in Michigan. Stage 2 of the Progressive Insurance Automotive X Prize 3-stage competition. Woo! To nail 100 miles to the gallon or better. 22 of 24 teams have so far survived. They call this phase the knockout. A series of challenges designed to test everything from G-forces
15.7, you have the lap record.
We have the lap record. We could have gone quicker.
to how much carbon these cars are pumping out. Canada's team FVT is on track and on probation.
Those tires being new, you might have to abuse them a bit.
You know what? It's so nasty out here. It's not going to make a difference. Like they might get better, but unlikely.
Last time out, the team bailed halfway through this 20-lap durability test with an overheating motor. This is the team's second chance. There won't be a third.
Thank you.
This course is meant to replicate a typical state back road. Brad must lap it in under 3 minutes. Last time out, he took it real easy. This time, he's averaging a fast 2 minutes, 12 seconds. No overheating, no problem. For the first time in Michigan, Brad lets the Evero off its leash.
That's what I'm talking about.
Look at him pull away there.
It tells me he's happy.
He's flying.
Best day ever. We did the entire endurance run without a single glitch, not a single glitch. Perfect. It's made up for all the ups and downs to this point.
We actually have time to not fix anything.
That was easy.
We better not get too cocky.
We're not finished yet.
Will we ever be?
I want a break. I'm finally getting some of that sleep I wanted 3 months ago.
Yeah, you deserve it.
These days, Central Michigan feels like a warm shower. Or a hot sauna. The X Prize competition is heating up too.
3, 2, 1, go.
This efficiency test is a key event, measuring how much fuel cars burn through. The test simulates the constant stop and go of downtown driving and longer, more suburban stretches of road.
Good. Give it up, Brad.
Finally, cars are tested at highway speeds. Here, a car's weight and shape could make or break competitors.
These cars weigh about 750 pounds, and you can push them with one finger, which means they require less energy.
Fueled with an ethanol gas mix, Edison 2 has cornered the competition, entering 4 of these cars. all-electric Lion Motors has an aerodynamic master plan. It includes replacing the side mirrors with surveillance cameras to reduce drag.
It's just the same as like if you're going down the road, stick your hand out like where the mirror would be, and at 6 mile an hour, you can feel it do that. So that's that much pulling it, kind of holds you back. So that's just like sticking your thumb out there, maybe.
At a little over 2,300 pounds, the Ivero isn't the lightest car on the track, but it is aerodynamic, and it's averaging the equivalent of nearly 153 miles per gallon. Only the two X-Tracer vehicles and the Wave 2 are ringing out more, all upwards of 180 miles per gallon. The bottom-heavy Tango is half as efficient at 90. Only one of the hyper-light Edison 2 cars nudges past the 100 miles per gallon requirement. And the foam-bodied Spira officially floats in at just under 85 miles to the gallon.
We found the track hurts fuel mileage 10–15%, just because a lot of times you're going at an angle.
But the Michigan heat and the constant stop and go start playing havoc with the Ivero. The left motor keeps kicking out, forcing the remaining motor to do all the heavy lifting. To avoid damaging it, Brad slows below the required competition speed. He'll get dinged for it by X-Prize judges with a mileage penalty, but after scoring a cool 150 miles per gallon equivalent, he can afford to take the hit.
We're going to get a huge penalty for it, but there should be enough cushion in our mileage for us to continue through.
That was easy.
The car's impressive mileage keeps the team above water. But the news they get next could sink them. This is a high-stakes street fight. A $10 million contest to build a car that can take the heat.
It's a little nervous when you don't get it the first time.
Another chance, play.
Yeah, man.
And take drivers 100 miles on the equivalent of a single gallon of gas. This phase of the Automotive X Prize is the knockout, a series of sudden death tests to determine the top contenders.
See you in 3 weeks.
The competition stage, where organizers predict many will fail, is already claiming victims. West Philly, a team so determined to pass a speed test, they risked a motor to do it, couldn't get the mileage.
Unfortunately, we got 65 miles per gallon equivalent. It would feel worse if we were at like 95 miles per gallon equivalent and we were knocking on the door of 100, but I don't think we could have reached 100.
This electric car is closing in on the equivalent of 120 miles per gallon and is one of 2 vehicles left in the 4-seater category. But a mandatory acceleration test is the team's undoing.
During the 0 to 60 event, we started slipping our transmission.
Tried everything I could as far as that went.
And we found out since we've been here that pretty much everyone that had a manual transmission with an electric motor took out that manual transmission because they didn't work.
The sole Canadian team, FVT, is still in the race and a little on edge. X Prize organizers have postponed a redo of an earlier acceleration test the team failed. Instead, the next test measures the greenhouse gases the car generates. It's pass, fail, screw it up, and you're going home. Normally, it would be a slam dunk for the battery-powered Ivero, but the teams learned the test requires that they run their generator the entire time.
Not only do I have to worry about the emissions, but I'm also got to make sure that my motors stay cool enough during the drive cycle. We've got more than one thing to concentrate on at once.
Problem is, the car was not designed for the generator to run full on. It's a backup only.
Our generator comes on, charges the batteries, and turns off. So it's a completely different way of operating the vehicle.
Running it full time could pump heat onto their twin motors, which sometimes cut out when they get too hot. It's a built-in protection.
Clear.
The team throws together a fast fix, so the generator runs at a lower speed and stays cooler.
I mean, that gas generator makes an awful lot of heat, and it's sitting right in there with the electric motor, so it's going to work against us. And we've got to pull a trailer, which is another 400 pounds or so, which is going to heat the motors up even more.
The trailer houses the testing equipment to record a car's greenhouse gas emissions. The test requires cars to circle the track 4 times, stopping half a dozen times per lap. Brad keeps his eyes fixed on the motor temperatures. They're getting warmer. What Brad doesn't know is that a problem with the right motor that they fixed before they got here is a flaw mirrored in the left motor. A 17,000th of an inch gap is causing it to shut down intermittently, putting both motors under stress. And there's more trouble. The team tuned the generator to run at lower RPMs to keep a lid on greenhouse gases and heat. Instead, the changes are causing the generator to stall whenever Brad accelerates. He must continually restart it. That alone won't stop the battery-powered car. But the generator restarts cause carbon emissions to spike, along with the engine temperature. Still, Brad is more than halfway through the test. Less than 2 laps to go.
Motor's cut out?
Yeah, that's it, both of them.
Yeah.
It's finished.
That's it.
Not finishing due to a mechanical problem is a little embarrassing and a little disappointing. I mean, we could go simpler. We could, buy a off-the-shelf system and bolt it in like so many others have, and we would be golden. But we're not like that. So time was our enemy more than anything, really. I mean, we did all of this in a few short months.
The team asks to repeat the test without a running generator. The appeal is denied.
Again, sorry, and I hope you understand the decision. It kind of is what it is from a mechanical failure standpoint. I'm glad that I could know you now, because then I can say I knew them when.
We still got a car, an awesome car. I can't wait to go home, finish it, and see what else presents itself.
Team FVT is back to Plan A, getting their car dialed and into production.
We're pretty close to it. It's just a matter of fine-tuning it, and which we'll do. We'll have her all sorted out in the next few months.
Of 111 X Prize entrants, only 24 ever made it to the track. Now, that field's been cut in half. 12 teams will return to slug it out in the finals. The X Prize is just one battle in a long war for George Parker. He doesn't know it yet, but his dream of getting the Evero on the road for real is about to shift into high gear. When the paint goes on, that's commitment. Barely back after their elimination from an international competition, this hyper-efficient car and the Canadians who built it are in overdrive.
Where do we go from here?
It kind of makes sense to complete the car and make it work as planned, because that was the path we were heading down.
If we can get that thing to the point where we can hand the keys to somebody and say, here.
Yeah.
We've done our bragging. Let's live up to it, because we know we can.
Back at the Michigan International Speedway, it's the final round of the Progressive Insurance Automotive X Prize. Until now, teams needed to demonstrate they had the potential to reach the equivalent of 100 miles per gallon or better. From here on in, they must prove it. Passing on the action isn't George Parker's style. He's back in Michigan, this time as a fan.
I wanted to come back and just see how guys are doing and who's going to make it through the finals.
The ethanol-fueled Edison 2 is the only car left in the mainstream category. It just squeaks past the necessary mileage with the equivalent of 102.5 miles per gallon, snagging top prize in its class.
The normal industry is trying to get 50 miles per gallon, and here we come with a car that can seat 4 guys my size and get 102 miles per gallon. And once you make the car efficient, you win every time.
In the alternative tandem class, the X-Tracer team is a dominator. One vehicle pulling in the equivalent of 187 miles per gallon, the other over 200.
We had the tools, we had the experience, we had the drivers, so maybe it sounds arrogant, but here I am.
The real race is between alternative side-by-side vehicles.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
5 cars, all battery-powered, have cracked the 100 miles per gallon equivalent. So now, a tiebreaker.
It's all about who gets there first. So it's becoming more of a speed contest that you can't exceed the speed limit.
The challenge? Drive 100 miles, no faster than 70 miles an hour, no slower than 45. Once per lap, cars must swerve around a chicane or bend in the track. Just 18 laps in,
Aptera is down.
They need to push to the pits to repair. There's an issue with the car. Roger that. Thank you. Over now.
the heavily funded powerhouse Aptera team stumbles with a mechanical failure. It's out. A showdown shapes up between two of the remaining teams. The offbeat-looking Wave 2 is fronted by an enthusiastic team of North Carolina stock car veterans. Finland's raceabout is made up of university students with an all-business vehicle, 4 motors, 1 per wheel. And right now, their car's well ahead.
So it's a 13-second lead now?
Now it's 15 seconds.
15.
What that tells you is the Finns know they're on it.
Can you catch up?
There's a little motor that can.
With a 70-mile-an-hour speed limit, the only place to make up time is in the bend deliberately built to slow them down, the chicane.
I was turning in, pointing at the last barrel when I went in.
Way to go.
With just 2 laps left, California's Team Zap is out of the race.
Did you guys run out of power today?
We ran out at the end.
Yeah, how far did you get?
96 miles.
No.
A German team is still in it, but is trailing by more than 11 minutes.
Over for the last lap.
It's between North Carolina and Finland.
This is crazy. This is like...
In the end, penalties for driving too fast edge out one team by just 0.179 seconds and mean the difference between millions of dollars and going home with nothing but a good story.
The winning vehicle with a total efficiency of 187 mpge. Please congratulate our winner, Lion Motors.
Well, we got to go and take what we've learned here and get these vehicles in the hands of the people.
George Parker and his team are already on the road to doing exactly that.
Wow, that is totally cool. So we can get this thing certified for Canada.
Okay.
Build these.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Why not?
The Evero has caught the eye of a Canadian manufacturing syndicate.
Not something you see every day in Alberta. No. Not yet, anyway.
The plan, turn Canada into the new frontier for building eco-friendly cars, including the Evero.
The basic involvement here would be the actual assembly then?
The actual assembly of the vehicles,
Okay.
right? Yeah. This one? Yes. This one too. Yes.
It's exciting to see the potential for actually building the car here in Canada, which is the most exciting thing for us.
For the Future Technologies team, it's a solid notch in the grill after months of struggle.
This is going to be the right next step for us to get to our main goal.
My baby.
George Parker turned his paper napkin drawing into a cover story car. And now, his dream, more than 30 years in the making, could help drive the future, defying the odds and those who told him it couldn't be done.